Hi everyone. In this video discussion hosted in Biologs, we're going to take a few moments to consider the rather large ideas in Learning Module 4 about teaching strategies and instructional methods. We've spent some time up to now looking at best practices and some critical information about things like your presence and the importance of that in your course, and creating a community of learners and inquiry, and how to create and sustain discourse in your course, etc. And now we're going to do a little more concentrated, deeper dive into what instructional methods make sense for you in the creating and managing of your own online course. And we're going to visit the information from our colleagues again at Virginia Commonwealth. I've debated in this particular module about adding another research paper that explores the effectiveness of various strategies for teaching online, but I've decided against it. You'll be happy to know I've not added any more content to the module, and I believe that the teaching strategies section of the Virginia Commonwealth Guide is a really good resource to begin with, so we're going to use that. And in this dialogue, I'm going to ask you to consider how you want to construct your course. This is a place where I want to repeat the advice that I've given you before in a couple of other venues and methods about starting small and keeping it simple and using strategies that make sense for you and that are consistent with your teaching style. I want to encourage you to select carefully tools and areas in Blackboard that you want to use. And you can expand that and change that over time, but I would encourage you not to encumber yourself and your students with too many things in too many spaces. And I should probably mention again that we really are experimenting with far more things and tools and spaces in our course for the purposes of allowing you to experience them and sample them than I might in a course that I'm teaching for 15 weeks with students. I would not challenge them to be interacting with this many different things over the course of a semester. And I might find that I use a thing and it doesn't work that well and I need to change and do something else, but I would wait until the following semester before I did that. So we're going to use Biologs created by the Teachers College at Columbia and see how that might work with hosting a video and having a conversation around it. This is another time when I'm kind of violating what I've said to you about small group conversations being more manageable, where we're all as a group of 25 or 26 going to converse using Biologs as opposed to setting up a separate one for each one of our small groups, just for the sake of efficiency. And so I'm going to share some comments from colleagues. Tina Hertzberg in the School of Education is going to say some about something that she learned in participating in the certification course. And Reed Toth from Criminal Justice is going to talk a little bit about her experience from past times teaching online, past years teaching online, some advice that she would like to share with you about creating your course. So different perspectives than mine, different opportunities to think about strategies and tools that might be meaningful or useful for you to consider, and we're going to converse about that using Biologs. So I look forward to our conversation.
One thing that I learned this is going to sound kind of funny, but I'd wanted to do a blog, but there was just something about it that seemed kind of scary. And then I saw how Cindy had it set up, and it was so easy to do. Y'all, it is that easy to set up in your own course. I went in, and afterwards I was like, this was scary? No, it wasn't at all. I couldn't believe it. And I used it in my, it's a practicum course, and primarily almost everything they did was in the schools, but we supported it with Blackboard. And what we used the blog was really just kind of a continuing discussion of their practicum experiences and observations along the way, any kind of questions that had come up, things they wanted to share with one another. And it was really nice to see them really support one another, not just me. And then what I did is like 3 or 4 times I kind of just added in a little bit to the conversation of, oh, let's talk about Common Core, the new state standards. How is this going to be affecting students who are visually impaired? What changes are we already seeing, and what are the things that we need to be thinking about? What are some good resources? And let's all, the next 2 weeks, let's spend some time looking for resources online and let's share with one another. And so we did that 3 or 4 times, and it was kind of just, it was like an informal conversation, and it was nice that you could do it whenever you wanted to do it. And when I noticed it, I think I got a richer discussion than just of keeping like a journal to themselves that I had them do previously. So it was a really good addition to the course. And I'm thinking about trying it in the iAnatomy course this summer. It's a total different content, but I think it might lend itself well to it as well.
I am Reed Toth. I am the Department Chair of Sociology, Criminal Justice, and Women's Studies. And I've been teaching online probably 7 or 8 years now, so I've gone through a bunch of different learning platforms. I've gone through the old what was that stuff? What we call it, Cindy? The old platform, just
WebCT.
WebCT, that was it. And Blackboard, many iterations of Blackboard. And one of the things that I think, if I were just starting out today, that I really would have wanted somebody to tell me is make the course idiot-proof. You're going to have a lot of people who've not had online courses. They may have some phobia about online courses. They may have some stereotypes about online courses. And you want to make it really, really difficult for them to not get it right. I kind of think of trying to set mine up like the rat maze, except that they cannot go anywhere except to the end of the maze. That they can't get lost in there. And one of the things that I do after setting my course up when I've created a new course is I actually let my husband go through it. And he isn't enrolled in anything. He's just totally, he does have some IT background, but he's not a student. He doesn't know the substantive part of the course. And I just say, here, I'm done with this. You go through it and see if you can find the syllabus, find the units, and you tell me how it is, and I get feedback. So I'd recommend finding someone who has absolutely no background in online courses and have them see if they can navigate your course. One thing that I do to make the idiot-proof part work is use the announcements page. I remove all clutter from the announcements page. The Blackboard default is to have things like your calendar up there and a task list. I take all of that off. I make it the default landing spot for the course, and I have a permanent announcement at the top that says always scroll down this page to see any current announcements. And I do not let my announcements expire, so they stack on each other throughout the course. So if there's anything that I announce in the course that a student needs to go back and review, they can scroll down that page and see it. But the first day when they log in, the first thing they're going to see is some instructions. Mine are done in a graphic format because I just enjoy putting together things like that, but where it gives them exactly what they need to do. First thing you need to do is click this button on the left that is for the syllabus. The second thing you need to do is click this button on the menu that is for the instructor information. Third thing you need to do is do whatever is next. Check out the weekly units. And I make it very, very clear. And then when I go to, when they have pages like the syllabus, the pages like the course information area where I might have some technological information, I set those up so that everything is in small sections, and I require them to review or mark as reviewed each of those sections. The reason that's important is something that you'll learn about is adaptive release. And I tie my assignments directly to this adaptive release, which means that the students cannot access any assignments in the course until they have marked as reviewed every section of the syllabus, so that I know they have read the syllabus, because they can't go any further in the course until the syllabus is read and been marked as reviewed. Some people give a quiz on the syllabus. I set it up so that you can't get past the next door until you've gone through the syllabus. And Cindy can show you how to set up adaptive release. It's really a little bit tedious depending on how much you do, but it's not difficult to do at all. When it comes to my assignments, I personally use the weekly units page. I allow my students to be self-paced, but I'm sorry, when I say weekly units page, I create what is called a weekly units section in the course. And I set mine up so that my courses are essentially self-paced, but it's within every week. So the student always has a due date on the same day of every week at the same time. They can work as far ahead as they want, but they must complete a minimum amount of work within that weekly unit. They can go ahead to the next unit early, but they can't turn in anything late. When I set up those weekly units, I have as much detailed information in them as possible on the front of the folder. So if, let's say, Unit 1, on the front of the folder, before they click to go in and access the assignments, I have things like the learning objectives, exactly what resources are needed to complete that unit, such as what chapter in the book they need to read. I include the activities: complete Chapter 1 quiz, read Chapter 1, do such and such assignment. And then I actually show them how much of that each assignment is worth toward their grade. Then they can enter that folder and access the materials. I put up PowerPoints, whatever, but I make sure it's very clear. Again, over-describe, over-connect things. In online courses, students sometimes are not real clear on why they're doing assignment because they're not getting the constant feedback and explanation from you. And remember, you have things in your brain that they don't have, so you may be making a connection that they aren't able to. So I've gotten in the last few years to where I very clearly describe, I place learning objectives for a particular unit in that unit. When I've got something like a video assignment, I will say, watch such and such a video and answer the questions below. And then I explain what it is about this video that's connected to what we're discussing or why they're having to do this particular assignment, which we don't typically do in residential classes, but in online classes I find that they tend to think it's busy work unless you are really clear as to why they're doing this particular assignment. Anything else you can think of?
Awesome.